It's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, and if we can have a roll call. I guess we're going to, who's going to do that?
Yes, we roll call.
Roll call. Do you want to do it?
Sure.
We don't have anybody here doing it, so. I'll just go around. Mr. Foose.
Here.
Ms. Nyman. Here. Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mrs. Deeroff. Present. Mrs. Denon, I'm here. Mr. Brees. Mrs. Savage.
Here.
Mr. Elsier and Mr. Boyer. Mr. Boyer?
Here.
Mr. Elsier.
Here.
Now I'll have Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everybody. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from October 1st,
Elsier moves.
2019. Mr. Elsier moves. Second.
Savage.
Mr. Savage. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we can just have a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. All right, on tonight's Education, Technology, and Student Services agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stout, and then I believe Mr. Maori.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Comment do we have any public comment? There is none. Okay. The first thing on the agenda is the presentation of the program of studies and the academy and cyber update. So I will turn it over to Mr. Stout and Mr. Maori.
Thank you, Mrs. Denon. I'd like to first start off by saying this is under the current board makeup, the last time the Education, Technology, and Student Services Committee will be meeting in this capacity. So I personally would like to thank all of you for the work that you've done to this point to help Boyertown be as effective as it possibly can at meeting the needs of our students. So thank you so much for that. We have Mr. Andrew Maori with us tonight. Dr. Wayne Foley is in the audience as support. And we are going to present our program of study. I know in the board update there were some questions about financial literacy, cyber update, academy update, and hopefully with our presentation tonight we're able to answer all those questions. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Maori.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Stout. Thank you, board. We're going to go through our yearly presentation of the program of studies and to get everybody up to speed as well as seek approval for what we have planned for us next school year. So you'll see that the goals that are outlined here for tonight, it's just making sure we can answer any questions, get on the same page regarding our academic planning and progress at the high school, share with you the new course offerings that we are presenting for approval, and then seek approval for the program studies so that we can begin and kick off our scheduling season. It's I always have to chuckle at this time of the year that we're starting the scheduling season as we just finished the first quarter. But with our school this size and wanting to get a jump start of things, that's where we are. So, yes, sir.
Mr. Maori, let me, we'll have you go through the presentation first.
Okay.
And unless there is a very hot question that you want to ask at that particular time, because there's 20 slides, stop us. If not, if we can hold our questions till the end, and we can certainly go back and reflect. Okay?
All right. Sounds good. The first thing I want to talk about is update you on House Bill 1095, which was around last October where this passed, and this addresses the keystone component of the graduation requirements for the state. So there's multiple layers to this. I think it's important we're aware of all that this entails and the work that still needs to go on regarding House Bill 1095. This does affect our class of 2022, which are our current sophomores. And we have been promoting this, putting it on our website, in our classrooms, sharing this with the students so they're aware of how the keystones will impact the graduation status and how they're utilized in the schools. And what I'd like to do is go over the multiple options to satisfy this requirement as outlined by the state. So if we look at the first option, plain and simple, of how Keystones will be a part of the bigger picture of our graduation requirements and the 5 pathways the state lays out. The first one is plain and simple, is if a student passes all of the Keystones for the biology, literature, and algebra, they've met that requirement. We can check that box off, and then we continue to look at our regular graduation requirements of the 24 credits and the career portfolio presentation. If a student is not able and is not successful in passing all of 3 Keystones, there's a second option, which they call the composite pathway. Now, this pathway takes the 3 Keystone exams. One of them must be proficient or advanced. It could be 2 of them as well. And no exam can be below basic. So that remaining 3, the 3 Keystones need to have a composite score of 44-52. So adding up the 3 totals of those scores. If, again, you satisfy those requirements of at least passing 1 and none is below basic, you have checked off this pathway. Now, this composite score just came to us a few weeks ago. This wasn't shared with us, and there are a lot more things that haven't been shared with us yet, so that's why I say this is still in the progress as we move on understanding these pathways. So that is the second way that this requirement can be satisfied. The third way is they call the alternative assessment pathway. Now, in this pathway, students are to pass those 3 classes as determined by the school, and then one of the following options they need to achieve. One is obtain a satisfactory score on certain standardized tests. Now, those satisfactory scores have not been shared with us yet. We don't know what that is. There needs to be a completion of a dual enrollment course. There can be a completion of a dual enrollment course, but we don't know if that means do you just complete it or do you have to receive the passing credit, and also is there some sort of stipulation or approval of the dual enrollment courses that you have in your school. So that's to be determined. Can be also a completion of a pre-apprenticeship program can be one of the options. And again, we need a little bit more clarity on that. And then the last option there is acceptance into a 4-year college or university. So that's the third option or the third pathway. The fourth one they call the evidence pathway. This, again, students need to pass the 3 Keystone classes. One of the following needs to be achieved, and that is an established core score on a different type of standardized assessment, an acceptance into an institution of higher education other than a 4-year, which we interpret could be a community college, could be some sort of technical school, could be the attainment of an industry-recognized credential, and again, the completion of a dual enrollment course. So one of those needs to be achieved, and then 2 additional pieces which are below, and that could be one of the other options from prior, completion of a service learning project, scoring proficient or advanced on one of the Keystones. That can check off that box. A letter guaranteeing full-time employment. So we have a student who's ready to enter the workforce, and we have that documented. That meets that requirement. Completion of an internship program, which we have are developing and growing each year in our school. And this is an interesting one, compliance with the NCAA core courses for college-bound student athletes. You achieve the 2.0, the NCAA-approved courses, which we have outlined in our program of studies and what those are. But I pause and wonder, that is not a binding agreement when you were graduating high school. You could intend to go and wrestle, and then your first day in college or over the summer, you say, you know what, I'm just going to focus on being a student. So again, we have a little bit more clarity that needs to come from the state and for us to understand this. The last option in this Keystone piece is geared towards our CTE students. Again, you need to pass each Keystone class, an attainment of an industry-based certification, which most of our students in the CTE do walk out of there with. The demonstration to be of likely success on an industry-based competency exam, which we interpret as being the NOCTI. So that could be the pre-NOCTI, which students take their junior year, which is an indicator of when they take the real NOCTI at the end of their senior year. Our students there, I mean, we are the highest pass rate of any school that we send in the county to CTE. So that's an area that we feel very comfortable with. And then lastly, the readiness for continued education in the CTE program of study. Very vague, very open how that piece could be accomplished. So This, along with our traditional graduation requirements, is how we have to incorporate our awareness and our success of the keystones. And as we share, there's more to come, more learning and clarity that needs to happen, and also the need to track this as our students move forward. All right, moving on here to our financial literacy program. This is something that's in its third year of existence at Boyertown. And where this came out of was wanting to expose and teach our students really good financial literacy habits. We were fortunate enough through Dr. Woodard to be paired up with the EverFi program. EverFi is the company that makes these lessons, and through sponsorship through BB&T Bank, they are able to deliver these to schools. So it's no cost to us and our students. Every student, every license is supported by BB&T Bank. Our students go through 9 different modules focusing on various elements of financial literacy. You can see what they are: banking, loans, renting versus owning, investment, taxes, insurance, and so forth. It's a completely online program. The reason why I say we're fortunate with this is because at this time we're also talking about the value of having our students going through an online program of some sort. Let's face it, in our day and age, and most of our trainings, most of our careers, some time or fashion, we're going to have professional learning through an online program. So here we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, that we're able to deliver this information in this method and also have the students have an online learning experience. The students will work on this both independently and through some guidance at school. The first 3 weeks of the school year, we set aside Flex, that 20-minute period where students are to be working on this before we get the remediation and the tutoring of Flex going. So the students work on those modules. We split them up to span over the course of 2 years. Our juniors are responsible for 5 of them, and then our seniors finish up the final 4. We do have a fair number of students who did finish them all their junior year, so they got that done and out of the way. The course, much to the dismay of our students, it prevents you from moving along too fast. So if you click the buttons too fast, there's a message that pops up says, "What's the hurry?" or "What's the rush?" And that's become kind of a joke around the students when we're moving a little too far. What's the rush? So they go through these experiences. There's videos that are embedded in here. There's instruction, and they're quizzes. And the students need to score 70% or higher on the quizzes to be able to move on to the next module. And at the completion of all 9 modules, they're presented with a certificate that we upload through our, and it becomes part of our career portfolio program. In talking with students, there's a wide variety mentioned and share about what they're able to glean from this. Some students come in saying, well, I know what there is. I have my checking account. I have this, and that. And as they go through it, we point out, well, what did you learn? They're like, well, I didn't know this about taxes, or I didn't know that about insurance. And we're like, good. That's the value of that. This is in response to that age-old criticism of schools of saying, well, why are they teaching us parabolas in math or things I'm never going to use? Why don't they teach us how to fill out a tax form? Here it is. We're doing that. We've answered. So we're pleased with the results of this program. And through this partnership with the company, they offer many other online programs that we've embedded into our school as well. There's a prescription drug and opioid kind of mini unit that we've embedded into our health and PE2. That all of our 10th graders go through. Some of the entrepreneurship experiences are embedded through our business classes as well. And again, they love us because we have all of our juniors and seniors taking this, and EverFi gets to count that up as participants, and every year we get an award for the highest number of students in the state that are utilizing this program. So this is a piece of our career portfolio that we're proud of, and we continue to look forward to working with it over the years. Continuing with our updates, something that has been modified for this year is how we administer our exams and how do we utilize these. Under the guidance of our career college readiness focus, we see that the high school is the stepping stone in many ways towards that next level of higher education. And our final exams were all encompassing of a full year of instruction. We get to the collegiate level, it's broken down by semesters. So you take your final exam for your first semester, then you have your new set of classes, and then you take those exams. So we have instituted midterm exams that are not going to disrupt or require any sort of modified schedule. We're going to build it into our current schedule. At the end of the first semester, these midterm exams are worth 10% of the final grade, and the EOCA, or the final exams, are worth 10% of the grade, combined together to be 20% of our final grade. So this is, we have a lot of this work already ready. This is being put into our different subjects in our different classes, ready to administer again in January for these midterm exams, and then our final exams at the end of the year like we traditionally have done. Our continued development of our dual enrollment offerings, something that we're continuing to grow, something that we're very proud of. If you recall, back in January, February, we went and joined up with Harrisburg University and have brought them into our school and are growing our number of offerings that we provide our students. This continues to grow. I'm going to get to this a little bit more detail a little bit later and share with you the various courses that are being offered on slate for next year. Our Smart Futures program has taken the place of the career cruising. This is the vehicle that we use that helps archive our students' progress towards their career college readiness activities, and helps provide guidance, knowledge, education towards planning and focus of your studies as it pertains to potential pathways or, again, career college readiness. This is a K through 12 initiative. This is our first year that we brought it in. So at the elementary schools, the students are using this program in various ways. At the middle schools, they're using it through their Road to Success classes. And the work that they do in the middle schools is transferring up into the high school, where it leads into our career pathways, academy and pathways focus that are going to help guide the students in their course selections and their focus as they go about their high school. It is the first year in existence, so we're working out a lot of the kinks and understanding the program and how it best suits our students. And we're refining that as we go on. And this is something that we hope to even spread out to incorporate and use with our CTE students so that it can be, like I said, the clearinghouse, so to speak, of our career college readiness PD 339 expectations that our students must have to graduate and for us to show and report to the state. So that leads into our academies and how they're developing and shifting into more career pathways focus. So when I say that, the academy idea and how we focus these career pathways are still the same of what we've been working with over the last few years. We still have the HHS, the Health and Human Sciences, the STEM, the VPFA, the CTE, as well as the business, the Global Communications Business Leadership pathway. But the reason why we're using the terminology of pathway now is because there's more opportunity. It's more inclusive for our students, where that academy focus was showing to be exclusive, was showing to be addressing just a small number of our students. And the ideas are still the same and the opportunities are still the same. There's just going to be a shift in delivery of how we move about this. So let me break that down a little bit further to you. Where in the academies, as I said, it was exclusive. Students had to quote-unquote declare the academy they would be a part of. And when we had these guest speakers come in, when we had these outside of the classroom learning experiences, we caught ourselves not just including our academy students, but also including to everybody who might have that interest. And we feel passionate about that we don't want to just limit it to those people who have these students who have this designation. So why just limit to the students who have been a part of the academies? We need to continue to offer these for all of our students. In addition, the PDE 339 regulations are requiring all of our students as we move forward to declare or to identify a pathway that they may go down for their next step after high school. So this moves into more of an inclusive model where through starting in the middle school years in Smart Futures, students will identify a career pathway of interest and there utilize our guidance and direction as they move down their high school course selections and experiences to head them down that pathway. We noticed that there was a low participation rate, and we knew this was happening. This would happen as we start this. But by opening up and including all students, which again we need to, we're going to be including all students in identification of their course of study and their area of focus. With some of the reduction in our human resources in our building, we were finding it difficult to achieve some of the models and some of the plans that we had in place. So by moving towards the Pathways program, getting all the students involved, all the staff involved, we were able to recognize that we could sustain it with our current staffing, in which we have in our building. And through the academy focus, we were kind of on our own as the opportunities reaching outside of our building to our local businesses, to our local resources, where we had the BCIU pulling in all of these resources together. And we want to be able to take advantage of that and utilize the resources they're putting together. So by following the Pathways model, we would be able to have access to the IU resources. We're still going to be focusing and offering intentional scheduling. We'll be working with our students, our counselors, our teachers, and guiding them in the courses and the selection that are going to support the pathway of their choosing. We're still going to have a lot of student choice. We're still going to have outside unique learning opportunities for students that'll take place in and outside of the building, in and outside of the classroom. And whether it's the various guest speakers that we have, the experiences in the workplace, there's a whole host of opportunities out there. That is not going away. That is staying the same. And then, as I mentioned several times before, we will be in compliance with the PDE 339 regs for career college standards and readiness. All right. So moving along to our courses and our course offerings. Focused up here are current AP classes that we are ready to offer to our students. The ones in black print have been running. We have the curriculum already built. They're part of our program. The ones that are in green are part of our program, usual program, but we've seen because of the numbers and the uniqueness of the students that are ready for that level of work, we're offering them every other year. That will allow us to have enough students to be eligible, to be ready to handle that curriculum. So those aren't going to be offered every year, but on every other year. You'll see the one in red on the far right, Human Geography. That's a new course that we are putting together. This is running in other schools. It's taking geography and the 5 elements of geography that are taught in class and taking it to an advanced placement level. Like the other AP courses, there's going to be, it's a rigorous experience, and there's the AP exam that's offered at the end of the year, and the student's success on the exam may open up opportunities for them to earn college credit. All right. As I mentioned before, we continue to grow our dual enrollment offerings, both through Montco and Harrisburg University. So here's a listing of the courses that we are running and are seeking to run for the coming year. The ones in black are the ones that are currently in play that we've been running for 1 or more year. The ones in red are the new ones that we are proposing, and some of them are kind of a little bit of a modification of current courses. For example, you'll see Intro to Statistics. We have been, for many years, been running AP Statistics, and it's a very popular class. We have 5 to 6 sections that we run every year, over 100 students. Well, we shared that curriculum with Harrisburg University, and they said, look, that almost matches exactly with our Intro to Statistics course. There's a little bit of tweaking that needed to get done, but it satisfies both requirements. So students, if they elect to take this class, can sign up for the Harrisburg credit, which they will earn those credits upon successful completion of the course, be ready to take the AP exam should they choose to do so, or do neither and still have that rigorous, enriching experience of having that high-level math class. I have honors biology up there in red as well because our honors biology curriculum matches very well with their introduction or one of their introductory science courses. So once again, we're able to offer that opportunity for students who sign up for honors biology. Still the same course. They're going to be in the same room. But students will have the option to pay for the credit at the end of the year at a very reasonable price, about $100 a credit. So we're looking at about $300 for the course to earn this college credit. And they'll still get the same experience, the same instruction to prepare them for upper levels of science, the Keystone exam, and that traditional experience that they've had. We have 2 new courses that we would like to have approved. One is Ocean World, which is an introduction to marine science. We have a teacher that has been approved and is ready to be able to teach this course. This will be looked at as an elective for students after they've satisfied their 3 core credits in science. So we're excited to see the interest that this will get from the students. And then lastly, at the bottom right, Spanish 5. We, for a couple years now, or for several years, have had Spanish 3 and Spanish 4 as an option for students who want to get the dual enrollment credit. Well, now we're proposing Spanish 5 through Montco. We don't have the students ready for it this next coming year, but this will be the school year 2021-2022 that we'll have enough students that will be ready to take this course. But we're putting together the legwork and having these seeking your approval as well as the approval for Montgo to be able to offer this in our canon. In addition to our other courses, new ones that we're proposing, if you recall, over the past several years, we've been adjusting our social studies alignment, where we've started at the 9th grade year for honor or for U.S. history. Our 10th grade year, all of our students take some sort of world history. This year, we're finishing out that realignment where all of our 11th and 12th graders are taking Gov and Econ. So next year, that'll just be for 11th graders taking the Gov and Econ. So our 12th graders will have a variety of electives to choose from for their social studies. Many are currently approved and are part of what we're running, but we have 3 up here that are new that we would like to put out for student offering. One is Honor Sociology, which is a more rigorous and extension of our Intro to Sociology course that has been very popular for our students over the years. Conflict and Consequences, an incredibly interesting class. This is going to be focusing on world conflicts in the 19th and 20th century and really be able to dig deep into the military aspect, the wars, the battles, and leading up to what we are facing in our world today. And let's face it, our history books aren't covering the Middle East, current Middle East situation that we have, the ongoing, more recent conflicts that we have in our world. So we think that this is going to be very popular with our students and garner a lot of interest. And we're excited to be able to offer that. Pennsylvania local history will focus on Boyertown, Berks, Montgomery County, and Pennsylvania as a state at large, and how the culture here impacts the United States. We have a teacher who is familiar with this curriculum, has put together a plan, and we're excited to see this to be an offer for our students. Conceptual physics is an offshoot of our current physics that we have, but it's more of a practical, tangible physics for our students that are more inclined to maybe not focus so much on the theoretical aspects of physics, but the more practicality of physics in our daily world. So we are looking at some schools that are currently running this this type of physics, and seeing how that will work with our students to be a science option for them. And then our last new course, lifeguarding and swimming, Lucy Bergiova has put some work in to generate the grants and work with the Y to be able to run this course, where upon completion of this class, students will have their lifeguarding certification, will be able to get hired to be able to work at the various pools over the summer. So this will be a combination of classroom work at the high school and on certain days go to the Y for the swimming portion utilizing their pool. And we're going to back it up with our flex period, whether it runs second and flex or flex and third, so we have an extended period of time so students can get to the pool and back. We think there's going to be a lot of interest in this class as well for students who pursue and want to get those summertime jobs as a lifeguard. And we're following the curriculum outlined by the Red Cross and get the students prepared for that certification. Modifying some of our courses that we have currently had in play. You'll see Honors, Human Anatomy and Wellness. This is a course that's been in play for several years. Rigorous class designed for those students who are interested in the medical field, whether it's through nursing or technician or physicians. This is a 2-period course that combines both the science and physiology focus as well as the health, wellness, and anatomy. We see that that aligned with the curriculum at Harrisburg University. It has been a very rigorous course over these years. It's deserving of the honors identification. So we are officially moving that to be both an honors as well as potential dual enrollment option where students can earn 6 credits upon successful completion of the class. Essentials of Personal Training is going to prepare students who have an interest in being personal trainers and prepare them to be able to take various certification tests should they choose to pursue that after going through this course. Microsoft Office has been running in multiple ways throughout the years. We've had an Excel class or Excel and Access class. We've had PowerPoint and Word together. But we've seen that these students, most who sign up for one, sign up for all of them. It's going to help us scheduling-wise if we keep them together in year-long courses as opposed to semester sections. And again, at the end of these classes, students will be able to take the Microsoft certification exams. AP Statistics, Intro to Statistics, I mentioned that earlier about how that's going to be run concurrently and the various options that students will have. Algebra 3 has traditionally been just a senior class for students who, for the first part of the year, are focusing on their algebraic skills and strengthening those up before they head on out to whatever after high school, whatever education they're going to pursue. But we see that there's a need or a value in some juniors that are ready for this class that'll help strengthen their skills before they move on to pre-calculus or prob and stats. So this is something that we're going to open up, and for those students who need it and would benefit from this, they would be allowed to take our Algebra 3 course. Our NJROTC program continues to be strong here, but a new piece that we want to work in is the marksmanship program that is a part of the curriculum through the Navy. And what this entails is students learning about marksmanship, practicing, utilizing these, for lack of a better term, pellet rifles in the programming. Now we have the space, we have the facilities to be able to implement this. We would, of course, follow the regulations as outlined by the Navy. They will supply all supplies, all guidance on this. And this is something that I think would be appealing to our students and would support the entire program, NJROTC program, to continue to make that a stronger and more attractive program to our students. And as we touched on last year, the German, we cannot continue to sustain that due to the numbers and be able to offer that for our students as they move on. So we currently have students who are in German 1, German 2, German 3 now, and we're going to continue as those students go through the levels as they start to phase that out. But starting with last year, we did not continue and offer German 1 at the middle schools, and this year at the high school, the German 1 will, the same thing is not part of our programming that we have in place. So the timeline we're looking at, next week we're asking that our program of studies, hopefully that'll be approved and we can move forward to start our scheduling process, which means in January and end of January, early February, we'll be meeting with all of our students and explaining the process and the course offerings to them. They will start meeting with their counselors and teachers to make their requests in February. And in March and April, that's where we'll be following up individually with the students and really honing in and finalizing their course request and looking towards that date of May 15th to lock down all requests. And at that point, the selections would be final, and then we would really finalize that schedule while we still have our counselors before they leave for the summer break. So that's the big picture of the timeline. So thank you all for listening to that as we go on. And I guess, Mr. Stout, if we want to open up to some questions about these.
Sure. Mrs. Diroff?
I just have two small questions. Is there a minimum number of students that we have to have in a class in order to have it?
We have a guideline that we follow, and we look towards
What is it?
15.
15. And the other thing, I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but I hear this a lot, like the students take their girlfriend out or something for dinner, use a credit card. Do we have something in one of the classes that tell that child how long it takes or how much it costs him to pay for a $25 dinner?
That's part of the financial literacy program, one of the units on credit versus.
So the whole thing is in there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I just want to make
And
sure.
what a great example, real world example right there.
Yeah.
It's in this block. It's in this block, Mrs. Diroff.
It's funny, Ms. Daroff, because you bring that up in one of the senior presentations that I sat in on a few weeks ago, that almost that exact example was brought up about the student not knowing how much extra they wound up paying for the credit, or from the business side of it, how much that gets kind of hidden in there.
Right, so that's under the banking? Would that be,
No, I
or
think that is
what's it under?
number 4. Is that credit?
Number 4. Okay, credit scores.
I believe so. I believe that's where the module where that comes under.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation.
Mr. Boyer?
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. I was at the PSBA conference in Hershey in, when was that, October, last month, that's right. And I happened upon the booth for Harrisburg University. And I talked to the folks there. They were thrilled that I was there and meeting them. And they told me that they were very impressed with our high school and the staff here at our high school. So I just wanted to pass that along, that the folks at Harrisburg University were very happy to be dealing with our high school and very impressed.
Thank you. Mrs. Savage?
Thank you. This is always one of my favorite presentations of the year. It's great to hear how you apply your expertise to take opportunities to better meet the needs of our kids. I have a small question, and that's about the transition from career pathways to smart futures. So is there, it would, I guess you could share the rationale, it doesn't matter too much, but is there any issue with transitioning the data that's already in there from one to the other so that you don't lose the information for kids who have been in?
That, at the end of last year, we took the time and the guidance to do that. We downloaded all that we would need at the high school onto their Google Drives, and at the start of this year, we guided the students into moving that over. This year with our seniors, this is the toughest piece of that, of getting that to move over. And we had a backup plan in case anything got lost, or sometimes maybe it wasn't completed when it was supposed to also. But there was a backup plan in place. So the seniors have been, that's been taken care of. The freshmen are starting off fresh. So just the current sophomores and juniors, that hasn't been much of an issue.
Okay. And is there any impact to staffing with all these new courses and improvements?
We're able to, everything that's proposed here, we're able to sustain with what we currently have.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, just to be clear on that question, the only extra cost might be for a classroom set of textbooks in certain circumstances, which is minimal. And the second piece is we are working on a curriculum resource and review cycle that we're hoping to present to the board a little bit later in the school year, because we're honing in on it to put some procedures in place for curriculum writing and getting some consistent procedures in place. And we're targeting 5 to 8 potential staff workdays that would be paid by the teacher rate to support writing the curriculum for these new courses. So that is the only cost. Other than that, it's pretty much a cost neutral.
Mr.
I have a couple of questions. So the financial literacy, is that it wasn't clear to me, is that part of a course, or that's a course unto itself?
For lack of better terms, a course unto itself. So they do it independent. Students will work on it independently during that flex period. And those who don't finish, by the time we switch over our flex into doing something else, they can still work on it independently outside of school hours or in their study halls. But it's not embedded in a current class that we have now.
Okay. For dual enrollment and AP, I know AP, they offer some financial aid for the exams, and I think they even increased the amount of price reduction that people can qualify for last year, which I was happy about. I'd like to see them reduce it further, but similarly for dual enrollment, is there financial aid for the students that make their way through that course but may not be able to, like, if they were going to college, they could apply for financial aid. So similarly, if they want to get the college credit from Harrisburg University, are they able to get any aid in covering the cost of the credit?
The courses are lowered than what the traditional student pays, and that's something we bill for them from the get-go. But as far as any sort of aid or grants that we within the school provide, I'm not aware of any that we have.
I know this answer.
Okay, thank you.
We do provide Title IV funding for any student who qualifies for free and reduced lunch. They can access those funds to take concurrent enrollment course.
Okay, thanks. And then for the academies and pathways distinction is interesting, because I was really excited about the academy structure, but it seemed like a pretty big undertaking. And so and one of my concerns with the academies was the potential to kind of isolate different subpopulations of the school community. So I like the idea of the pathways and the word inclusive, and it sounds like that is less of a concern given that model. How will you still have the opportunity to graduate with distinction? How will that differ?
As far as the graduation, not necessarily for any sort of recognition, but you're going to be focusing your course alignment, your course selection will be geared towards that theme or that major, which is a term we've used before. So not necessarily any sort of different distinction that we have for the students. It will be reflected in various ways with their programming on their transcripts, and then any sort of, again, industry standards, industry certification achievement, any sort of internships will be reflected in various ways to the colleges as well, but not necessarily on that diploma.
So I serve as a liaison for my employer with the Downingtown STEM Academy. And so I've been there a couple of times and met with some of the students and people that operate that. And it's a fabulous program, but it always, the kids that are in it and that really get the most out of it, it's a great opportunity for them. But I always find it hard to believe as an adult, I still don't know what I want to do with my life. And I talk to people who are retired who say the same thing. They still don't know what they want to do. So it seems weird or odd to me that we're pushing this further down to the high school, middle school levels, that you're picking what you're going to do for the rest of your life earlier and earlier. So I do like the idea of not having such a stringent set of established choices like we had with like you traditionally would associate with an academy model. So is the pathways somewhat designed to allow that flexibility in exploring the different subjects?
Absolutely, and that's one of the auspices in mind as we move forward with that. As I tell students frequently, you may not, whatever your next step is, that absolutely could change as you move forward, but there should always be a next step in mind, though. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're providing for these students, that guidance, that awareness, and kind of that care that maybe I didn't get when I was in high school. A lot of us maybe didn't have it with our schools. It was just open, here you go, throw a dart and pick what sounds cool, or what teacher is running. But we want to guide the students, educate them so they're more intentional with their course selection process and the experiences that we have, and the flexibility to be able to move and to be able to take part of, and maybe not even a class as well, but an experience that we're offering the students. We want to open up to all the students. We saw that we were doing that, and naturally, organically. So let's continue with this model that we have and really make that part of our program.
And then with foreign languages, I know there's a Pennsylvania Dutch German background in this area. It's pretty deeply rooted. So it's sad to see German go the way that it is. But I also understand the resources and the utility and the number of students that are enrolled makes an impact on what we choose to offer. But I'm curious with foreign language in particular. Models like where we're partnering with this offering from BB&T Bank to provide online modules and things of that nature. If at some point we would consider similar partnerships or different relationships with other neighboring districts. Like when I attended Boyertown High School, I took Latin, and it wasn't offered at Boyertown. It was a satellite course. Oli actually had the teacher, and we phoned into it, and it was on a screen and everything like that. But not that we need to bring back Latin, but courses like Mandarin and some of the other things that have been discussed or brought up before, it's something to at least consider. I'd love for us to have those conversations. If ways that we can offer those without actually increasing, or that we can do it in an efficient way with the resources that we already have available to us.
Agreed. I think that's right there. An efficient way that we can make that happen, and the student interest is a big piece of that also.
Yeah. And then the last comment that I had was on the Keystone Proficiency Pathway. I appreciate you going through the different options, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I would just say I don't envy you for having to go through these. I don't think the state made this any easier. So best of luck.
Thank you. We'll take whatever's coming our way, and we'll figure out a way to understand this and also track our students and prepare them for success. It's our belief, with good education and good classroom experience, no matter what test you put in front of the students, they're going to be successful. So.
Mr. Foose, with respect to the career readiness too, if we think about the Smart Futures movement to support our students in elementary school and what the state is asking us to do, so it's even scary to think about all the way in elementary school now, we're helping to guide students in that selection process and providing resources to them to help, think about what does this mean, what will I have to do if I want to go this particular career. So really the pathway approach is giving students much more of a broader experience than kind of funneling them into a section. So it's all the way in elementary school.
Since you spoke up, I just thought of one more thing. So you gave me more time.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that the BCTC our relationship with them has been outstanding. We send I think we have the highest student population there, and we do our students perform great. I think Mr. Boyer is our current representative there. Dave. Sorry, Dave. Mr. Lewis. And on the NOCTI exams, we perform exceptional. So I think that's a great thing that we have in our educational community, and I hope that we can continue to have a really good, strong relationship with the BCTC.
Mr. Elsier?
Yes, thank you for the update. It was definitely, I can tell, well thought out with some good decisions made. I too like the changes in the academy piece, because having 2 students in university, I believe it's not uncommon for 40% or higher of students to change their major when they get to college. So, you know, it's good to see that we've opened that up with the inclusion and stuff like that. Also, on the Keystone piece that's state mandated, I didn't catch this when I looked through it, so thank you for pointing it out. There's the first example was proficient or advanced on the exam, but then the others are past the Keystone class. And I hope that as we go through this with the students that those distinctions are made, because thank you, you clarified it for me going through this presentation, but maybe to Mr. Foos's point, there's a lot up there.
What's not reflected up there also is we have a population of students that are, whether through a learning disability or whatever case may be, aren't ready for the traditional course load.
Sure.
So there's the IEP write-out that is always there. It has been.
Yep. No, it's, thank you for clarifying. On the financial piece, again, I think it's great that we're offering that and have been, even before it was state mandated. I did have a question on the midterms. Did you say the midterms are every marking period, or maybe I misunderstood?
It'll be at the end of the first semester for the year-long courses. So any
Okay.
year-long course will take it at the semester break, right before the semester break in January, and then the final.
Got
Now,
it.
if you're a semester class, you're only going to take one comprehensive exam, and that counts as your final exam, as it
Okay.
traditionally
So
has
it's a
been.
true midterm in
Yeah.
the mid-school year,
Correct.
basically. Okay, thank you for that clarification as well. And I really like some of the additional classes as far as the local history, combining the Microsoft Office. I mean, if you want to get ahead in today's world, you have to know some basic Microsoft things in almost any job you do, whether it's Excel, PowerPoint, Word, etc. So it sounds like it was the smart thing to do to combine it to give students a chance to touch all of those features of that tool. So thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments and questions. So going back to the academy, I think I too like the pathways and the integration of those 2 programs. I think that part of the academy, in my thought process, was to allow those students who really did know what they wanted to do and had a passion about a particular discipline to be able to have an opportunity from our high school to kind of just concentrate on that, whether it be music or government or math and science. So I appreciate the fact that we're still keeping that and keeping those rigorous courses. So for those students that want to do that, we're providing them opportunities as opposed to kind of funneling everybody, forcing kids to pick, because I would agree that not everybody in high school knows what they want to do when they get to college. And to Mr. Elsier's point, a lot of kids change their majors, and going further, they graduate with a degree and never even do that discipline. So it's, I agree, there's a lot of choices out there. Just a couple of other things. The painting teacher, and there was a lot of controversy about when we had to really look at our budget. This was an opportunity, and I know it had to do with class sizes, but there was so much misinformation out there. I'm still running into parents and kids, and how dare you we have the best art program, how dare you get rid of the painting teacher? She's the only one who can teach painting. So there's 154 kids now who can't get a painting course. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of clarify what we are doing with our art instruction at the high school with the elimination of the teacher who was apparently the only one who could teach painting.
No, and that is misinformation there. The timing of it really put us in a bind because we have schedules locked for the students. So all of our teachers are capable of teaching all the courses that we have offered in our art program. So what you'll see again for these offerings are the painting classes that are open for students to sign up for. We're just going to be shifting what teachers teach which sections and the amount of sections that we're offering. In response to what happened in August, we tried to move as many students as we could from painting into the mixed media classes, which incorporates and includes that painting experience, and try to do the best we could at that time. But now that we're starting and we know what our current numbers and our resources are, we're going to be offering those classes. Phenomenal teachers. The continuation of the success of our art program is going to continue. It's and all the courses that we had eligible to run next year are going to be offered again this year, and based on student enrollment and seat count, that's going to dictate what we're able to run.
Thank you. So I would just ask those parents who are still concerned, they can go to this meeting and actually look at the tape and see that has been clarified. Another question I had just in terms of curriculum is our phys ed and health. So is physical education mandated by the state?
There's a 2 credit requirement or 2 course requirement for health and phys ed, and that's what we have our students satisfy during their freshman and sophomore year through HPE1 and HPE2, a combination of health instruction and physical education instruction. Then there's junior and senior year. It is not a state requirement of the number of credits that we have our students take, but we do require them currently to take a half credit their junior year or half credit or senior year. Or in some rare cases, some students do a full year their junior year, and they will have satisfied that graduation requirement. Then we have the students who take above and beyond that also.
So it's just 2 years for the state requirement, and then our school district has their own requirements.
That's correct.
So we could if we chose to down the road, we could change those policies if we wanted to make it more health classes or more phys ed or however we wanted to do it. I know that there was a couple of years ago some parents were saying that their child wanted to take some more AP courses and they didn't have room, and then we had kids who were not having lunch and taking all these, because they had to fit in their phys ed. So I just wanted to kind of hear your opinion or see if you have any opinion at all on this notion that if your child is an athlete and they're playing a sport, whether it's football, basketball, whatever, that they can use that as a replacement, not for the health part, but for the phys ed part, and if there's been any discussion about that or any talk about that.
Has there been sit down at the table discussions about that? No. But as we look at the offerings that we have, quite a few number of them that we're pretty proud of, what students are learning in we'll move health out of the conversation,
right,
but the phys ed classes, they're learning life skills, they're learning different experiences that aren't focusing on the sport that they master or they involve in. I mean, if we go around, I know I may not be the physical example of as the marquee, but I was a wrestler and a football player. However, now in my adult life, I'm doing different types of cross training and different types of health experience that I wouldn't maybe be as knowledgeable of or as aware of had I not had those experiences and that education through school. So that's one frame of thinking when we think about this topic. We want to continue to offer these opportunities for the students, expose them to different things, and help grow healthy bodies as well as our healthy minds. But Dr. Foley, please.
Can I say one thing about that too? Also, we have to be careful because to say this is the thing that's very. Also, in the state of Pennsylvania, we have to be very careful because in order for students to be able to receive credit in a high school or in a public setting, the
provider must be certified in that particular discipline to do that. So not all football coaches, not all coaches, and whatever activities they're in are certified to do that. So legally, we can't just accept that as credit either. So there's some other areas there we have to look at as well.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, because that does tend to come up in the years that I've been on the board. It always is a question, and I never really have a good answer, so thank you for that.
Okay.
Miss Savage is leaving. We were gonna do a thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, she's up. Is there anybody who has any objections to moving this forward to the November 26th mega school board meeting that we're gonna be having? All right, great. Okay, so you have your direction to move that forward, and we can go to the next part of your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Muir. Yep, if I can have the clicker, that would be. Thank you. So I believe I might be in my 6th or 7th year in doing a cyber presentation for the school board. Based upon questions that had come up in an earlier weekly update, we decided to try to compile this all into one presentation for tonight to hopefully answer many of your questions. So this is going to be a consolidated cyber presentation compared to what Dr. Woodard and I may have done in the past. So the first slide that you see here is a reflection back from 2010, 2011 school year up until the 2019, 2020 school year, which is our present school year, and the amount of students that are enrolled in outside cyber charter schools. So we were at 129 in 2010, and as you can see, it's kind of been a little bit of a roller coaster up and down. Over the past 4 years, it's been a slow trend upward from 15-16 school year with 113 students up until our current school year with 158 students outside of our school district.
These are cyber charters, not cyber or charter.
Cyber charter, yes.
Outside cyber.
Yep. Our current enrollment, and this is a critical moment in thinking of numbers, because this is a little misleading, because last year's information that was shared right around the same time was 77 students enrolled in our current BASD cyber program. We are looking at our enrollment as of the day 12 from this school year, and it was 84 students. So that number increased by the end of the school year, which I will show you in a later slide, but as of right now, we have 84 students enrolled in our Boyertown Area School District cyber program. Ms. Nyman.
That is not part of the student enrollment in outside.
No, those are current Boyertown students that are enrolled in our cyber option. Yep. So if you look at the breakdown that we have for, and I apologize, that should be 1920 BASD cyber enrollment, it shows our full-time enrollment and also our part-time enrollment. We do provide opportunities for students on a part-time basis to be enrolled in cyber options. There are some students that are in the Career and Technology Center that don't have the ability to fit in certain courses into their program, so we provide them some flexibility to be able to utilize the cyber option to be flexible with their schedules. So you can see the full-time enrollment from the senior high to the elementary schools versus the part-time enrollment from the senior high to the elementary schools. It's a big slide. So as of this week, I spoke with Mrs. Pitts, and the current cost loss for an individual cyber student who attends an outside cyber charter school is approximately $12,004.44 per student. And it should really be noted that at the bottom, there's a little caveat there that the students that have special education needs, that cost could go from the mid $20,000 pushing $30,000 per student. So when I ran this number and looking at our number of students that are in an outside cyber charter school, at 158, I, to be honest with you, lowballed the number because we are not completely aware of what students would be outside of our district that might have special education needs. So if you multiply $12,004.44 times 158 students, you get basically $9 million that is a total cost to the Boyertown Area School District for them being outside of our school entity. Now, I say 1.9 with the special education components, you're probably talking upwards of 2.5, pushing $3 million that we lose on an annual basis.
Our last bill was 2.6 million. And I would tell you that Representative Sonny bill would take $500,000 out of that if it passes, and it's probably not going to, because they have funneled millions of dollars into legislative coffers, campaigns, and it looks like it may not make it. But just addressing the charter school, cyber charters, would have been a significant savings for us. Excuse me, the $500,000. $500,000 is a governor's proposal. Representative Sonny's would have been more significant, and really, his proposal was really a balanced approach. I think it wasn't really trying to cripple them, but hold them more accountable for what true costs are. If you look at some of the employees that they employ, the advertisement, the other things that they do, the bottom line is we're at a disadvantage because we don't get the market. And if we want to get our students back, we're going to have to invest in marketing and recruitment to get them back. And they're just funded unbelievably with what their resources to attract students to their programs. The fact that we're only at 158 is really, sadly, not bad. It is for us, but when you look at others that have been hit, when I talk to other districts, they're like, that's all 2.6? They think that's good compared to what they've been hit with.
So this slide could look familiar. At the kickoff back in January when Dr. Obero and I presented the Office of Teaching and Learning reorganization, there's a lot of numbers on this page, but we really took an opportunity last year to evaluate our own cyber program. And on the left-hand column, you see the actual numbers that we had last year. We were able to negotiate with the Berks County Intermediate Unit a global cost for 0 through 150 students within our cyber program. And I don't have a slide in here, so I want to make sure everybody's reminded that we partner with the Berks County Intermediate Unit with the Berks Online Learning. So we have a partnership with them as well as the curricular resources that they provide for us to work on our to work with our cyber students. But in the past, you can see and I'm going to $5,060 per full-time student last year is what they charged us per student. Right below that was the actual cost of what it cost us per student, which was $430,100 at the end of last year. Part-time students, so we had $440 per course for a total cost of $21,560 for our part-time students, which I can do this backwards, do backwards looking, $451,660 was what our total cost for our cyber students to be supported through Berks Online Learning in the partnership. So what we did was, in our evaluation of the reorganization of the Office of Teaching and Learning, we were contemplating whether or not it would be cost effective enough for us to create our own position here within the Boyertown Area School District to help support our cyber program. It's a lot of monitoring, it's a lot of supporting, it's a lot of pieces that go along with that. So we were trying to look at what would be our break-even point, what kinds of resources would we need to provide. We would have to employ a person. We would also have to purchase our curricular resources through functions, curricular resource opportunities like Edgenuity, K-12 programming. So in those conversations, back to the far left-hand side of the screen, we were able to negotiate with the IU a one full cost for 0 through 150 students at the cost of $123,500. So it was an excellent opportunity to be more effective in what we do. We have been very happy with the resources that Berks Online Learning has provided to us. So we determined, why reinvent the wheel? How about continue the partnership? So most importantly, when you look at the far right-hand side of our presentation, the total full-time cost was $430,000 last year. But if you cycle down to what the actual cost savings was compared to what we paid last year for our students on an individual basis versus what we renegotiated with the Berks Online Learning, the total savings would be $328,160 from what we did last year, which was super exciting in our opinion. So if you would look at, and this is how we like to look at our data, if we were not able to provide a cyber opportunity for our students, and hypothetically speaking, or kind of projecting, if all 134 of those students last year, at the end of last year, would have been in an outside cyber institution, that would have cost the district $1.6 million. And when you look at what the overall cost with our renegotiation, the total savings for us to be able to be providing our own cyber program is almost $1.5 million. So if we were not able to provide this opportunity for our students, we would even be losing out on more money. So $1.5 million plus, I believe Dr. Bedden said $2.6 million certainly adds up an awful lot. And to Dr. Bedden's point, if other districts are a little surprised that our number, I hate to say is as low as it is, because it's certainly not low, it could be also because we're providing our own cyber resources. And as Dr. Bedden spoke, and this is the last slide in our cyber presentation, the key component to moving forward is being able to potentially market the Boyertown Area School District Cyber Program, and the information that and the resources that we provided to help support marketing the cyber program. Complete truth and transparency have not been successful. If you look at the trend of numbers over the years, they've stayed consistent. We have brought minimal students back to Boyertown Area School District cyber program since we've offered the option. We also like to spin it a little bit of a different way, in the fact of my last point saying that we have provided the cyber opportunity. So those 134 students we've been able to keep within the Boyertown Area School District. We're just not finding the tricks and the marketing strategies to be able to bring some of those cyber students back to our Boyertown program. So that is the last slide of our cyber presentation for the night.
So I was going to make a comment, but I just wanted to reiterate, and I'll go around and everybody else can make their comments. But I appreciate so much what Mr. Stout and Dr. Bedden and the staff has done to try to get our cyber students back. It's very difficult, and I know I sound like a broken record on this, but this is something that I've become really passionate about 5 years ago when I found out that this was such an issue. And the bottom line is that I think at this point we're not going to get those students back, but we can do some things as a district to prevent students to going to the outside cybers. And so I applaud Dr. Bedden and Mr. Stout with finding ways to prevent more students from going. And the reason that we can't get them back is because parents feel if it costs more money, it must be better. It's like the college that's $75,000 a year has got to be better than the college that's $40,000 a year. So I'm going to send my kid there. Well, imagine if somebody said to you, you can send your kid to the $75,000 school and someone else is going to pay for it. And that's what we are doing. So Representative Sonny's legislation is probably not going to go anywhere, but it would be a huge start. The legislation that those of us who are active in Harrisburg with school boards have fought, which was Senator Schrank's bill, which said that if you have your own cyber school and it's accredited like we have, then any student from your district, they can go to any cyber school they want, but they need to pay for it. And I'm just going to ask, I was in Harrisburg, we had gotten talking points. I did not visit all of our legislators. I visited some, but Mr. Boyer, I think you, I can't remember specifically, but you went, and if you just want to share what the rationale is, why that, I don't even think it ever got out of committee.
Well, the folks that I met with, representatives and state senators, I was accompanied by representatives from other school districts, board members and superintendents, and we made the rounds and we spoke with some of those legislators. It seemed to me, as an inexperienced person in that type of field. I'm not an expert at lobbying or advocating at the state capitol, but from the experiences I encountered, our representatives and senators were not that interested in changing this. They have some entrenched interest in keeping the status quo for whatever reason. I know that our superintendent just mentioned that there's a lot of money going into political contributions for their campaigns. That may have been part of it. Every board member and superintendent there was lamenting the fact that they're paying millions of dollars for cyber charters, and they've worded it this way: they're using taxpayer money. We're using taxpayer money to fund what is essentially a private school education, and in some cases, for-profit companies are running these things. And we were all lamenting that fact, and our legislators weren't very open to listening to that. They didn't want to hear about it. I shouldn't say they didn't want to hear about it. They weren't very sympathetic. And that's a shame, it really is, because I believe that also. We're using taxpayer money to fund for-profit private schools. Anyway, that's what I learned when I was out in Harrisburg on that day just a few months ago.
Just to kind of piggyback on your point, Mr. Boyer, if you look on the presentation, I think this is solid data to support your statement. When you look at in the previous years, I'm going to turn around. The $5,060 per full-time student is the cost that Berks County Intermediate charged the Boyertown Area School District for curriculum, the outside program, which would be an Ingenuity or K-12, plus the teacher resources, as well as the BCIU liaison monitor for $5,060 per student. If I go back to my slide with the average cost, and this is me putting two numbers together, when we are, it's costing the Boyertown Area School District $12,004 per student. If you do the difference and round a little bit, you're talking at almost $7,000 per student difference. So my question would be, where is that $7,000 going? Because honestly, the Berks County Intermediate Unit, they're making, they're paying their employees, they're making maybe a teeny bit of profit in the process because, they're working through supporting their program. Where does that $7,000 go in looking at those two comparison numbers?
First and foremost, I would say that, and the board members received a copy of the letter that I sent up to the secretary as part of the comment period. And I ended it with, this is not an indictment on those charter schools that are successful, because here's the real issue. Majority of them are not. And PSBA has launched a campaign, I sent it to the board members, and it has all the data of all the charters. They're horrible. And yet, they still keep getting funding. But we would get lambasted if I turned in that type of performance as a school district, which is what the governor is going after. But I want you to think of 2.6 million. 2.6 million with just the Act 1 would wipe out our total deficit right now. Our budget would be balanced. If you want property tax reform, deal with this. It is one of the easiest ways until someone fixes, because property tax funding of education is inherently inequitable. We know that across the nation. It's gone to court many times, and that's the one thing they do agree on. They just don't agree on how to fix it. But this by itself would just wipe out our deficit issue if we could get this under control. And again, the challenge is there's no accountability, which is what the governor is going after, because they are not expected to meet the standards that we are. The financial accountability is not there. And they pour millions into promotion and advertising. Many of you probably have ridden down the street and heard a radio commercial. And a free comment, which is not free. And that's the issue that is misleading to the public when they don't realize it. And so some of that is educating them. We can't compete against that budget. Our total investment this year to try to combat this right now is we partner with Niche. I just got off the phone with them today, the place where everyone goes to pick schools. They're actually going to be providing a premium profile, sponsored listing, triggered emails, intent-based marketing, AdWords remarketing, and Google Analytics dashboard to give us feedback if it's working. For 7 months, spend $4,600, but that's about all we can invest compared to what they put on the table. They probably put $400 and something thousand on the table for their advertisement. Because we don't have the team and resources to go and do what they're doing to suck students away. I absolutely understand if it's religious issues, I get it. But at the end of the day, if it's something we're not doing, then I understand that conversation, but I don't understand if we're not doing it, then you go to someone who is doing it, but they're doing it badly. That still doesn't make sense to me. But I would encourage anyone to go to PSBA, or if you want to know the link, they have all the data they pull together with the amount of money that it's costing public education. Charters actually rival the PCERS issue and cost to school districts. That by itself would be huge in savings and relief for local taxpayers.
Mr. Tennant, I'd follow up on
Sure.
Dr. Benton's comment. A very, very quick follow-up. There was a mention of, and in the footnote there, or the bottom section, that the costs are much higher for special ed students. When I was in Representative Topol's office for our last session out in Harrisburg, there were 2 superintendents in the room. And one superintendent, the question came up, what does it cost for special ed kids to go to cyber charter? And one superintendent said about 20. And the other superintendent just shook his head and said, well, we're up to $30,000 for cyber for some special ed students. Yes, I was shocked. I don't know what our costs for Boyertown were or what they are now, but I was shocked to hear that 20 and maybe 30,000 for those 2 superintendents.
And just to give you some data, it would all depend on what the needs of the student would be and the funding that they would look to be getting back from the state. So, yeah.
I know 2 years ago when I was running for school board and I was going around and talking to people in the community, you're often asked what can be done to reduce costs or to save money, and people were usually surprised when I would say, well, you know, we could improve our cyber charter and try to draw more students to ours rather than either bring them back or have them choose ours as opposed to a different one when they make that choice. I do think it's really difficult once somebody has made the choice to go outside the district. It's going to be difficult to bring them back. I mean, that's a tough choice to begin with, and I think once you cross that bridge, it's really difficult to actually bring them back. But to get out in front of it for the people who are contemplating whether to go the cyber charter route, the fact that we have an offering and the fact that it's as high quality as it is a really wise investment on the district's part, and the partnership with the IU and the ability to renegotiate has certainly been a great one. So I appreciate the work that's being done here by the district, and unfortunately, I have also expressed my concern and displeasure with people in Harrisburg, and doesn't seem like we're really getting anywhere. So I'm a little bit jaded, not really holding my breath that Harrisburg will rush to address this. And I do think that we need to remain vigilant and contact our state representatives to shine a light on this and tell them that it's an area of great need for our public schools. But in the meantime, we need to do what we can locally, and I think that we're doing that by providing a high-quality cyber charter option, and certainly marketing it in the way that we're looking to is a wise and efficient use of funds because of the return on that and the cost avoidance that you showed. I mean, we're talking not just hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking upwards of $1 million plus, and the ability to graduate with a with your diploma saying Boyertown on it, the ability to be involved in our extracurricular activities and to participate in our sports and our music program that are top notch, some of the best in the country. That's a great value, and I would submit to anybody considering going outside of the district or looking outside of traditional brick and mortar and considering cyber charters to consider ours first, because I think it would give them the best of both worlds. However, I also think that we're doing a great job in our brick and mortar, and we should keep that up as well.
Mr. Elsey?
Yeah, well said, Mr. Foose. I couldn't agree more. I think a couple things that I see here. First off, I want to thank you, Mr. Stout, for all your work on this for many years now. And it looks like it's been, a full 7 or 8 years since we instituted our own cyber school. So that continues to show dividends. And if I recall, each and every year, we show that we've saved money, net, having done our cyber charter, some years more than others. And it looks like this year was maybe one of the better years as far as net savings. So a couple facts that I'm seeing here. One is the enrollment in cyber charter, whether it's ours or outside, continues to grow. So I almost have to look at that as a fact that it's going to continue to grow for various reasons. The use of technology, as an example, it's a way that young children are embracing, parents are embracing as a learning vehicle for their students. Quite frankly, being familiar with some university courses, there's more and more online learning in universities than there has been in the past. On the corporate level, there's also, it's not unusual that corporations have their employees go through required learning, and it's done online. You don't go to fly to the main office and get in a hotel for 3 days and do a class. You do it online. Might be an 8-hour thing on the computer that you go through, whatever. So I think this is going to continue, and I think to Mr. Foose's point, I think it's incumbent upon us at Boyertown to do what we can to control what we can here at Boyertown, knowing the unfortunate situation that Harrisburg at this point in time maybe not be doing anything to address it, but we can address our own. The other thing that I think is pretty clear, and I think a couple board members made mention, is it's very difficult to try to get somebody that's already made the huge decision to leave, to go to a cyber school, to come back to Boyertown. And I almost see this more as a retention issue. I could almost see, if you are thinking of enrolling your student in a cyber school, call us first. We have our own. Please call us to investigate what we have to offer. It's almost like, it's not really a recruitment thing to get people to come back. I see it more as a retention, because I think it's going to continue to grow. The other thing is, and I can somewhat understand the Harrisburg situation in that, we are blessed here in Boyertown, as many other districts in the state of Pennsylvania, with overall excellent or maybe outstanding public schools. That is not the case in certain areas, whether it's Chester Upland or some of the city districts, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, etc. And I can see where the need of a charter school is there. So I'm not endorsing what Harrisburg's saying. I think where our lens is, why would you want to go to a cyber school? Look what we have here at Boyertown. So I think we just need to do, I guess the headline is, I think we need to do a better job of really calling that out and stressing the number of clubs we have available, the number of athletic activities that are available, the music, the arts, that cyber schools cannot offer. And you can still do cyber school at Boyertown and have those other pieces that you would not have in a regular cyber charter school. So anyway, that's what I want to say. I just thank you for your work on this, and I think it's something that we're just going to have to do a better job of embracing and marketing, however you want to put it, communicating to our community, to our parents, of what we have to offer. I almost think it would be interesting if we did a survey of parents, how many would know that we even have a cyber option? I don't know, but my guess is a lot of people don't even know we have our own. Just saying. Thank you.
Well, and those very valid points, and really it's a fine line between marketing our own program when we really strive to have success in our brick and mortar program, but also providing the flexibility to the cyber opportunities. So that is a fine line as well as a gray area. I do feel like I need to give an absolute shout out to the high school staff and a counselor, Karen Virtue. Since we've worked collaboratively with this process, she's done a phenomenal job of kind of owning, and she's the counselor who's in charge of helping to support those cyber conversations, and they've done a phenomenal job trying to have those proactive conversations with respect to the opportunities that are out there. Our registration office, also any student who enrolls within our district that comes from a cyber, if they're in another district somewhere but they're enrolled in a cyber opportunity, we jump on that right away and have conversations with them to try to maintain them. We have been able to keep a couple of those over the year, but again, once they're committed to being and they're successful. And another incredible key element to this is two of the main curricular providers in the cyber world are K-12 and Edgenuity, and we provide those same curricular opportunities. So whether you're in PA Virtual, Agora, any one of those main, it is the exact same curricular, same program of study that's available through their cyber institutions. So there literally is no difference. It's how it's supported. And to Dr. Beden's point, I feel we stay on top of our kiddos, and that's why the success rate with our cyber students is as high as it is. So,
Mrs. Deroff, I think you were next.
I just kind of was thinking of what Mr. Foose said, and I know we keep saying call your representatives, everybody should make calls and tell them how we feel. We never really talked about, and maybe there's no interest, of uniting with other school boards in Berks County, or in the state for that matter, and go to Harrisburg one day and have a news conference on the steps of the Capitol and tell it, excuse me, everybody how we really feel. A call here or call there, that's nothing. You're just spinning your wheels and it doesn't mean anything. But if you go as a group, I'm not saying it's going to change it, but it's going to make an impact more than we're doing now. The other question I had was on the special ed, on the outside charters, do we get to bill for the access, in the access program for that, or does the other school where they're, the outside charter school they're going, do they get that money also?
As I understand it, once they go there, we pay a bill to them. So we don't get to bill for anything. We get billed.
I knew
to
we
pay.
got billed, but I wondered, are they taking advantage of billing for the access, and the access program and getting all that money besides? That should be deducted from what we're paying.
And I don't know the answer to that. But I know the laws in the regs that we've given you an update before have changed, that we have dramatically don't get very much money from it, and many of the outside placements don't even bill the same way. I don't know if you have any more information, Mary Beth, about that.
I would just add that, Mrs. Deroff, they're most likely not receiving the medically, like OT, PT, and speech. Those are the things that they would be able to bill for. So more than likely, those students are not receiving those services through the cyber school, because those are things that are taking place face-to-face. So I don't believe that they're billing for access either.
Where do those children get those services then? If they were here, it would be in their IEP.
If they were here, it would be in their IEP, but
Right.
more than likely, the students that are leaving to go to cyber school are not students that are receiving those services. Those are typically our kids that are in our life skills classroom that have intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities, as well as autism.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lewis and then Mr. Foose.
would it be against the law to offer an incentive for students that number like 150 something that are going to outside cyber schools? Is there a way to incent them to come back? Because if you're bringing in more than 10 grand on each one you bring back, there may be something you can offer them. I don't know how that runs in. That probably runs, afoul of the law and little things like that.
I'm going to tell you that the overarching theme is your board solicitor, the Feel Like Guidance would say that's going to be problematic when that's come up with him. Yeah.
Mr. Foos?
I had a couple questions. I feel like we've talked pretty academically about the concept of cyber charter, and I thought there are some things up here that I have specific questions about. So for the part-time cost, what is the threshold? How many courses does a student need to be taking to be considered part-time? Is it?
It depends upon the.
Yeah.
As far as part-time students are concerned, it depends on how many credits they still need to have. Usually their senior year. So we have some taking as little as 3 classes and some taking 5 classes. So it really depends upon what the student is and where they're going. So.
But generally speaking, it's a instead of taking your courses in our brick and mortar, you're taking a portion of them. It's not like some kids might want to supplement or take something that we don't offer in addition. Like that wouldn't be part-time. And is that something that we offer, or is that not available?
We've been very careful in offering parallel similar opportunities in our cyber options that would be offered in brick and mortar so that they can mirror some of the same schedules. You gave the example earlier on about offering Mandarin. Mandarin would be something that would be able to be offered via virtual, but we do not offer that in our program of study. So there's kind of a line there, and a decision would have to be made because there would be a cost to be able to offer that virtually through an Edgenuity or a K-12. But looking at that from our perspective, we've tried to, at all of our levels, mirror very similar course opportunities for our kids.
That was actually my other question: is what is the similarity between the program of study we just were discussing and what's offered at the cyber charter? So it's as close as it could be in alignment.
It is, and there's a little deviation from that, but what it does for the potential is to provide more curricular flexibility. So like I gave the scenario where a kiddo might be going to the Career and Technology Center and they want to take a language, and I know the initial crux for some of our students, they couldn't fit it into their brick and mortar schedule, so they were able to take that virtually and gain the credit for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Savage, and then we probably can.
Okay, thanks. I think the comments have been made. I just need to state how angry it makes me as a taxpayer that my taxes are going to failing schools. And in addition, helping them profit. And in addition, helping them market against us, because clearly the money they're using to market with those big billboards are all coming from us, the taxpayers. It's such a ridiculous situation, and I don't know how besides getting political contributions, I can't see how our legislators can't see this. Why are they willing to fund failing schools? I really don't understand. Money.
Okay, on that uplifting note, we're gonna move on. Dr. Foley, are you doing the presentation for the program of studies?
Not
or?
that we weren't gonna. Yeah, that was just given.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not
gonna
go through the whole.
it. Okay.
The whole program of
Okay.
study was in your packet. I will be completely transparent and honest with you. We failed to put the new vision statement, so when the weekly update goes this week, you will be given the new edited version with the vision statement. That is the only change in the program of study itself for the middle school and for the high school. The middle school program of study stayed very similar with the exception of the German opportunity, and the program of study was outlined very thoroughly by Mr. Maori tonight.
Mr. Foos.
I'm a little disappointed we're not going to go through the 96 pages. Last year I did read through the whole thing. I was hoping that you could just, tell me what.
Dr. Foley said he'd be
Save me
willing to
some
stay
time.
after if
That's fine.
you'd
I
like to do
appreciate
that.
it.
So, and again, we have it. We have all the information, and we can all look through it. And if you care, if you have specific questions and you want to, come back and ask that. But we're not going to. Same thing with the middle school program of studies. We have it, and the vision statement will be on. And then I don't know if anybody has any questions at this point, but I'm sure Mr. Stout or Dr. Foley would be happy to answer any.
Just a question related to program of studies and the fact that we're now our second year into the middle school model. Are there any major observations you have about the program of studies with respect to the model or anything like that?
No, actually, we are, one of the future presentations that will be for the school board is our Future Ready Index. And you have the opportunity to go into the Future Ready Index right now because it is live. And you will see some exciting information at our middle levels that have been improvements at both Middle School East and Middle School West. And looking at specifically, we're excited about our math scores. We've seen an increase with our math scores, and there's been a concerted, focused effort, and there will continue to be, to have a math alignment from the middle level to the high school level and how it filters through the high school level. But if you go into the Future Ready Index and you had taken copious notes in last year's Future Ready presentation and go in there, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we will give you, we're hoping in January to give you a thorough explanation again of what data is in there. And as Dr. Ben has spoken in the past, our data collection tools are going to be directly aligned with the Future Ready Index because the data is extracted from our district, so we're going to use the same data points to help support some of our goals and achievement moving forward.
Mr. Elsie?
Yes, thank you. I don't have a question so much as a comment. I did have a chance to look through the program of studies. Please don't give me a test on it, but I did have a chance to look through it, and it reminded me not that long ago where both of my children were in the high school, or back then junior high, and each year they would look through the various programs that were available. And I'm very proud that here at Boyertown there is a plethora of choices, be it for the one, half a year classes, the optional classes, whatever. And I think we should be proud of that. And again, I appreciate the hard work that the team does to continue to tweak that, add some classes that we think based on input or whatever that the students will like, and maybe adjusting some that really aren't very popular or that's, low turnout, so to speak, low enrollment. So, I think it's a lot to be proud of. And the AP courses, the concurrent enrollment, these are all things, along with, to board members' point earlier, the BCTC, and the great things that are being done there for the students that attend the BCTC. So we truly do offer a wide variety for our students, and it's a lot to be proud of. Thank you.
He wanted me to ask that, and I said no. Page 10. You said you read it. Anybody else before we move to committee comments? Committee comments, just in general. Does anyone have anything? Mr. Foos? Oh, Ms. Nyman, go ahead, because Mr. Foos has his hand up too. But you go for it.
First of all, the girls soccer champs. Several people have approached me wanting to know why they didn't have their own parade. Does anybody have any if it would have been boys, we would have had some type of parade that weekend. No, they did not.
When they came home, we paraded the whole way home.
Yeah, but they said normally they have it like on a weekend where they go through town or something.
They came home Friday evening, through town with the police, fire police.
But nobody had a chance to do anything.
Oh my There was information put out right away, to the families. I understand that the rest of the community wasn't there, and that's certainly something that we can work on. But, we had a huge, kind of pep rally in the, gym right away, and people were there.
Kind of like after 9 o'clock at night, there were a lot of people that couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that didn't know about it, so they were looking for something over the weekend. So I didn't know if there was a possibility of us doing something for the girls on a weekend where we could get the public involved.
Okay, and the high school's here. This is the first I'm hearing of it. I don't have any knowledge of what was done in the past, so I can't speak to it.
I'll work with, Mr. Palladino, and we'll see what we can work with the community, because obviously they gotta be involved as well, so.
Yes, I heard a lot of people from the community, would have liked to have been out there.
There was quite a few people throwing confetti and stuff when we were going through town though.
I mean, I saw the video that was put out, but I wasn't going out at 9 o'clock at night, sorry.
I don't know why you wouldn't have joined us.
It was too cold.
Well, now wait, maybe we'll have it in June then.
And the other thing was, I attended Washington's PTO meeting Monday night, and not only were some of them confused, but I've heard from other parents as to if we're still doing the redistricting, and I said, as far as I know, that's been a done deal. So I guess they're kind of looking for some confirmation that come 2021, we're gonna be doing, that is 2021, yeah.
2020.
School year that, so maybe you need to put some out there, because they're kind of confused on this.
Well, first of all, we really can't put anything else out until after your November 26th meeting. To do anything now would add to the confusion. The board adopted scenario 1, which is what's there. All school assignments that anyone knew was made with scenario 1 already in place. We are not supposed to do anything more until we know whether we're sticking with scenario 1 or there's going to be a change with scenario 2. So once whatever action is taken, then we send out communication again moving forward, because then we'd go through the normal assignment process of moving students where they are based on whatever is finally adopted. To do it now would add to actually make it more confusing.
Okay.
So-
Well, I guess there's people just confused that East is gonna be, all of Washington's gonna be going to East now.
That's scenario 1 that you all approved, yes.
Right. Well, that's what
in-
they're,
That's in effect if scenario 2 is not adopted. That's already been adopted by you all.
Okay.
But we can't do anything else to take any action until.
well, you're probably gonna get some phone calls because
That's-
people are
yep.
confused and,
Okay. We'll be more than happy to answer the questions. So if you get any more, just refer them to us and we'll
I've been
make it
referring
clear.
them.
Okay,
I said, call Dr. Bedden.
yep. No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Fruce?
Yeah, I watched the pep rally for the girls soccer. I also, I thought about going, but I was already in my pajamas. But it was exciting. It was very exciting, and I watched the game.
Yes. Oh yeah, she was there too. She
That
was
was-
the 12th player. I got pictures to show you. Pull her off the field.
Yeah, if it's
Yeah,
important, you'll go whether it's cold or.
The game winning kick was, I mean, something special. So I think that was a spectacular run. We certainly want to celebrate them, and their great accomplishments. But I wanted to, for committee comment, I wanted to talk about. So I look forward to, it was mentioned there will be a presentation on curriculum review, and also the Future Ready Index. So I look forward to those. This is one of my favorite committees because it really gets to the heart of why I think many of us are here, and what we enjoy about being on a school board. Which, in addition to that, it was mentioned by one of my colleagues the plethora of choices for courses. I also wanted to highlight that. I mean, there's a thick packet, a lot of options for students. Obviously, the ones that actually end up being courses throughout the day are the ones that we have enough student interest in. But the fact that we have so many options is really a testament to the quality of the teachers that we have in our district and their ability to provide courses with this range of options. So I just wanted to specifically call out the qualified and dedicated teachers that allow us to have this many options for our students, because it really is a benefit to them.
Thank you, Mr. Foos. Mr. Boyer?
Well, my comment is just that I thought I would try to plant a seed, maybe for some future board, or that thinking about all the course offerings and the curriculum and the things that we're offering in our school district, I've often thought that we should be perhaps offering a language at the elementary level. I know it's something that at this time we can't afford it. Maybe some future board, some years hence, will be able to think about that. And I thought I would just mention it. And again, where can we fit it into our elementary schedules? As you know, it's jammed right now. But that's something that the principals and superintendent will have to figure out, and Mr. Stout at some future time, if they want to pursue that. But I just thought I would mention that other nations offer languages at very, very young ages in their schools. We as a country are far behind in that regard, and it's something to think about for the future. And I would appreciate if you would think about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, with that, we have upcoming committee dates. November 26th is our next full voting board meeting. And can I have a motion to adjourn? Mrs. E. Savage, Mr. Boyer, we're adjourned.